I've been using the DJI Mini 3 Pro for nearly 4 months now. So if you are someone that is looking into buying one, considering or wondering whether this is the right drone for you, this is my long-term review. And first things first, the most interesting thing about this drone is its size and weight, because at 249 grams, it means that a lot of the regulations and restrictions that every other drone pilot has to go through, you name it, Air2S, Mavic 3 or whatever drone out there, you don't have to go through them, okay? You can fly over people, you can fly over crowds, you can fly in pretty much anywhere you want, as long as you abide by the rules. And this is something that is really important. So for instance, this place where I'm filming this video at, this is restricted airspace. And I've flown a couple of times around here, and to do that, you need to get permission from several bodies. You can't just put your drone and fly. But if you're in the countryside, on a beach, on an open field, you pretty much have no restrictions whatsoever. So this is one of the reasons that this drone is so popular, because you can fly in places that with a larger drone, it's pretty much impossible, or it's really, really difficult. You need to get a lot of qualifications. This is so small, the first time you get it, you're gonna be shocked, because your phone may actually be larger than this. Now, there are a couple of things that are a pleasant surprise when you handle a drone that is this small, okay? One is the fact that it actually handles wind very well, surprisingly well, as a matter of fact. I mean, I have never had a situation where I lost control of the drone because it was too windy. And obviously I'm using common sense, so if it's a very, very windy day, I don't even try. But I know that people have tried this drone and have done all sorts of tests, and you know, it can handle wind as good as the Air2S, which is, given the size of this, it's quite an achievement. And another thing that you're gonna be surprised, and I genuinely was surprised when I first got it and I flew for the first time, is that this is a very quiet drone. You would never imagine that something this small could be this quiet. I mean, so much so that you fly this thing 30, 40 meters in the sky and you're not gonna hear it. People are not gonna hear it. So that means that you can literally get away with filming in places that people would complain otherwise, because people are very self-aware about their privacy, and more often than not, they really don't have a clue about regulations. So the fact that you have a drone that is so quiet, it's really, really helpful. And what about image quality, you might ask? Well, I film in very different environments, from open beaches to the countryside to congested airspace, city centers, and even restricted airspace. And the quality that you get out of this is amazing. The fact that you have a 1.7 aperture means that you get a lot of light coming through, and it works fantastic, especially in low light and nighttime. You can be filming in pretty dark night environments and keep the ISO at 200 or 400, maybe 800 at an absolute push, but anything over 800 is definitely too noisy. And if you can get away with 400, I would never go over 400. And if you shoot well using ND filters and you keep the histogram on the screen so your highlights don't clip and your shadows are not too dark, the footage that you're gonna get out of this drone is absolutely amazing. Some will say that it's as good as the Air2S or marginally less, but if you shoot well, nobody really is gonna tell the difference. Nobody is gonna come to you and say, oh, the quality of this is not as good as the Air2S. You know, that's absolute nonsense. Don't be too greedy. You get an absolutely amazing image quality out of this drone. You get a 10-bit signal on the Dcine color space out of this drone, which is infinitely better than the 8-bit that you get in the Mini 2. And that's gonna give you a lot of flexibility in the grade so that you can punch those colors and get some really colorful images. But the quality of this drone is not just for video, it's also for photography, okay? Because you get 40 megabits raw
photography, which is absolutely amazing for anyone that loves photography. You also get the ability to shoot vertical, which I haven't seen this in a drone before. So for anyone doing social media, Instagram stories, TikToks, or YouTube shorts, that is phenomenal. Not only that, but you get slow-mo, you get hyperlapse. I mean, you get so much bang for your buck with this drone. This is a fantastic piece of equipment, okay? It's really, really helpful. It's all integrated here, the screen, the controllers, everything. And it's really lightweight and easy to pack. Now, the problem with this is that you cannot stream video out, which is a bit of a bummer because, in my opinion, it's a serious problem because I genuinely do fly in restricted airspace sometimes, in congested city centers, and I like to have someone to help me, especially if I'm flying close to iconic sites or places where you cannot afford to crash the drone or have any accidents of any type. Well, not that you can afford to have a drone accident anywhere, but there are some places where you genuinely cannot afford to crash a drone into a site that might be 300, 400, 500, 600, 1,000 years old. You really don't want to be the one person appearing on the newspapers because you crashed your drone. It's good that the spotter has a video feed so that he or she can more or less get an idea of what the drone is, so that they can try and see what it is, and then they can give you the warnings if they have to. So not having a video feed out, it's a serious limitation. They advertise the range to be 5 kilometers, and I have never go anywhere near close to that. I managed to get it to 2,100 meters or thereabout, and that's in an open beach where there was absolutely nothing between the drone and the transmitter. In a normal city center, congested airspace, I don't think you can get away with more than 400 or 500 meters, and that it depends on how many buildings the signal has to go through and how much stuff there is in between the drone and the RC controller. Depending on the country that you're in, you might have FCC regulations or CE. FCC regulations give you a much stronger signal, so you can fly much further away and you may be close to 4 or 5 kilometers or even longer. If you're in Europe, you use CE and you basically are very limited on the range, and that is a bit of a problem. If you were to have the RC1 controller, you then get a video feed out that obviously goes onto your phone, but you can split it so that you can have a wireless transmitter, and that would be very handy, and it will solve the problem that I'm having with not having stream video out of this transmitter. And you can install an app in your phone and potentially hack it and go into FCC. Not that I recommend it, but there is a possibility. I am planning to actually get myself an RC1 and either sell or retire this unit because it doesn't work for me. But for someone else, it might be completely, totally fine. I mean, this is really, really good. No matter what you hear, no matter what DJI advertises, you are most likely gonna get only 22 to 25 minutes. And you're gonna get even less if you fly in normal or sports mode. I genuinely believe you're gonna need at least 3 batteries. So I highly recommend that you get the Fly Mode combo, because you're gonna get 2 additional batteries plus a charger, and the charger also doubles up as a power bank if you happen to need it to work as a power bank. Batteries work really well, they're very reliable. When you do a software upgrade or a firmware upgrade, you may also have to do a software update for the batteries. So this is something that very few people do, and you need to be mindful of. There is not much more you can say about the batteries. What is great about this charger is that you can use USB-C, and with a fast charger, you charge a single battery in about 45 minutes to 60 minutes. That is very helpful, and you can use a power bank also to charge the batteries, which is really, really helpful if you're in the move and you're filming in between locations, so that you can keep all your batteries fully charged. Trust me, that is so, so cool. Now, the obstacle avoidance sensors, they're not going to compensate for stupidity, so you should always use your common sense when you fly your drone. But having these sensors, they're going to give you a lot of confidence when flying in pretty much any environment, because you know for certain that you're not gonna fly onto something. Now, saying that, this drone doesn't have side sensors. So if you're doing any type of flying that requires the drone going sideways, you need to be extra careful, because you are literally gonna fly onto something and this drone is not gonna stop. Taking in consideration the upgrade that you got from the Mini 2, there is so much you can ask a manufacturer to put before financially it doesn't make sense. This drone also has some lights, or emergency lights or location lights, that obviously during the day you're not gonna see, but you are theoretically be able to see them at night. My experience is that you're not gonna see them, nobody's gonna see those lights unless the drone is right above your head or right above their head. So maybe it would be nice if they had a brighter light, because it genuinely does help to see the drone when it's in pitch black or at nighttime. But I genuinely feel, so far, when I've flown this at nighttime, I cannot see the lights. Now, to get the best out of this drone, you're gonna have to shoot with filters. And the most important filter that you should get is ND filters, okay? Doesn't matter the flavor of the mount that you decide to go for, whether it's a straight NDs, variable NDs, or hybrids with a polarizer filter on top. And yes, you can shoot on auto with this drone, and more often than not, you're gonna have a good, well-exposed image. But your shutter speed is gonna be so freaking high. Using filters is gonna transform the quality of the footage that comes out of your drone, because you're gonna be able to stick to the 180-degree rule. So in my opinion, ND filters are essential, the most important accessory that you should buy for your drone if you value quality and you get the best image quality out of it. The one thing that you're gonna discover when you get this drone is that you may want to take off and the drone won't allow you to. This is the first thing that most people complain about, is why I cannot fly my drone, and it's because you might be in restricted airspace. DJI has a process where you need to submit to them evidence that you are allowed to fly in that area. There are different types of restricted airspace. Some of them are genuinely completely restricted, that you need to get permission from local authority or whatever authority is supervising that area. And this is why having a 249-gram drone below 250 grams, it's so helpful, because if you want to fly over people or crowds, forget it. Now, there are many apps out there, depending on the country or the region that you live in, that will give you all sorts of information about airspace, restricted airspace, temporarily the restricted airspace, because that's another thing to be mindful of. And it goes without saying that if you fly in congested airspace, always inform the police and the local authority in case that someone rings saying there is a drone flying. Get the right permission, because the simple fact that you can fly over people with this tiny drone doesn't mean that you can fly over people at low altitude, okay? So always be mindful of security, safety, and don't do anything stupid. There are some issues that I've come across time and time again. I wouldn't say there are major issues, but there are issues that hopefully DJI can address in version 4, okay? Now, the first thing is the SD card slot. They should have a little slot or something that is much easier to get the card out and get it back in, okay? And potentially have a lid that stops it from being exposed as it is now, because all you need is a little bit of water going in and you could potentially lose your footage. You know, so in my opinion, this is an area that they can improve on, okay? Now, the next one is, as I said before, the RC controller doesn't have a stream video signal out. And to me, this is a major problem, because I genuinely need sometimes to have my spotter to see what it is that I'm doing, where the drone is. And this thing is so tiny that you're not gonna see it once it's 50, let alone 100 meters up in the sky. You're not gonna hear it, you're not gonna see it. So I need my spotter to see what I'm seeing, so that they can really understand what the drone is and do the job. Now, I know that this is something that DJI can address easily, I would imagine, with a firmware upgrade. but I imagine that they haven't done it already because they don't want to hurt the sales of the RC Pros that obviously cost $900, which is as much as the drone itself. To me, this is a real problem that may actually force me to migrate to the RC1 controller, which I would hate, but sometimes in life you need to do things out of necessity. Now, the final thing is that if you want to have a better range or a stronger signal, you might want to add antennas to this RC controller. Now, the problem is that to do that, you need to hack technically into the controller, and it's not something that I would feel very comfortable doing. It might void warranty, and most importantly, when you take an insurance for a job, whether it's your over insurance for the drone or because you take a policy for a particular job, the insurance company will not take kindly that you are flying with a unit that has been hacked in or opened up by someone that is not DJI, and potentially causing an accident because of that. Insurance companies are very, very tricky to deal with, so I would never put the antennas myself, even if I know how to do it, for the simple fact that it might void your insurance policy. So in that regard, to me, adding antennas, unless DJI adds them, which I don't even know if they can do it, it's not even an option. So I'm limited to flying on CE, and that is a real bummer. Now, does this mean that this drone is no good? Absolutely not. This is an amazing piece of equipment. If you're a content creator, if you're a filmmaker, you can do incredible things with this drone. And there hasn't been a single day that I haven't watched the footage that I got and I thought to myself, it wasn't a good idea to get this drone. It's incredible. Yes, it's a little bit pricey, but you are gonna get so much value out of it. These are one of those few pieces of equipment that I feel 100% confident to recommend to anyone, knowing that they are never gonna be disappointed. And if after watching this video you're still a little bit apprehensive or still unsure or wondering whether this is the right drone for you, I've got a video here where I give you some tips and tricks on how to get the best out of this drone. So click on it and I'll see you there.